gonna try to sabotage you. They gonna just try to do anything that they try to do to destroy you.
Look, trying to put me in a box. Boy, simply foul, yeah, it's goaltending. I ain't never gonna stop. I can rap for hours, yeah, I'm long-winded. Grinding straight to the top. With my team, not alone, nigga. You rather in or you out. Make up your mind to move along, nigga. Trying to put me in a box. Boy, simply foul, yeah, it's goaltending. I ain't never gonna stop. I can rap for hours, yeah, I'm long-winded. Grind straight to the top. Nigga with my team, not alone, nigga. You rather in or you out. Make up your mind to move along. Shit should be written in stone. Knowing this music gon' flip when I pick up my phone. About to go pick up a zone. Smoking the blunt with the engineer mixing my song. What type of shit is he on? Gaining the knowledge, I eat the fish spit out the bone. Really get sick of you clones. Rappers to crush me a leaf out of ran out of cones. How many chicks do we bone? How many bloods do it take to get in the zone? Interviews ask me questions. I just be dropping them jewels and links to my songs. Already flipped on my throne. Knowing that bitch is platinum, silver, and chrome. Country boy, all of my domes. So I'm gon' copy a truck when I'm breaking it home. What these niggas talking? Boy, these niggas tripping, thinking I'm one-dimensional, unconventional. I'm winning, they all crispy chicken. Your boy just so original. Staying focused on the digits, you know I'm gon' get it. The money become residual. Set the target, I'ma hit it. The boys exquisite, unique in the visual. Then fuck the bitch up with the missionary. Just a Kama Sutra shit that's legendary. Steady rolling on that Mary, and these bitches love it like it's February. I don't know why niggas try to test me till they get ingested like some pink intestines from a country family who ain't health invested. Sending texts till they get the message. Trying to put me in a box. Boy, simply foul, yeah, it's goaltending. I ain't never gonna stop. I can rap for hours, yeah, I'm long-winded. Grinding straight to the top. With my team, not alone, nigga. You rather in or you out. Make up your mind to move along, nigga. Trying to put me in a box. Boy, simply foul, yeah, it's goaltending. I ain't never gonna stop. I can rap for hours, yeah, I'm long-winded. Grind straight to the top. Nigga with my team, not alone, nigga. You rather in or you out. Make up your mind to move along, nigga.
Good with it. What's good? What's good with it, y'all? Welcome to the Algae Heaves podcast tonight, man. Welcome to the late night show, y'all. You know what I'm saying? Please like and subscribe. Please like and subscribe to the channel, man. You know what I'm saying? Trying to get more views as possible. You know what I'm saying? I have been going through I had surgery last Thursday, so you know what I'm saying? Bear with me, y'all. I had surgery on my hand, on my finger. I told y'all I showed y'all the other show too. My big ass dog pulled a damn leash and popped my finger and broke my finger. So I had to have surgery on it. But one monkey don't stop no show. I ain't gonna stop nothing. You hear me? We're gonna keep the ball rolling. We're gonna keep this thing going. Tonight we're gonna be talking about West Equatorial Africa and the repercussions of the agricultural expansions. You know what I'm saying? During that time, during 1000 BCE to 300 CE. It's during the same time period as the East African classical age that I've been talking about. You know what I'm saying? With the Bantu moving into East Africa. But now we're gonna be, you know what I'm saying, transition. We're gonna be talking about during that same time period. We're gonna be talking about what was going on in the West Equatorial Equatorial Africa during this time. You know what I'm saying? A lot of this is during the Iron Age, in the midst of the Iron Age Africa and Central Africa and things of that nature. Shout out to my viewers. Shout out Pure Black. What's good with it, bro? Shout out Desiree. What's good with it, bro? You know what I'm saying? I see brother Wuja is he got his show going tonight. That's probably why I ain't got a lot of traffic, but I ain't gonna care. You know, so people gonna catch it on the flip end. People still occupied about Egypt. We want to talk about other parts of Africa on this show, on this channel. That's what we're gonna get on. That's what we're gonna go for. You rocking with Gullah Jack in the building, you know what I'm saying? Y'all know how we get it in. We're gonna get deep, gonna do a deep dive into this African history. We ain't just gonna, I ain't just gonna keep you, you know what I'm saying? I ain't just gonna keep you in Northeast Africa. I ain't just gonna keep you in Egypt. We're gonna go all over the goddamn yeah, all over the continent. Shoot, even outside of Africa, you know what I'm saying? It's the Al Jaheez podcast, y'all. You know what I'm saying? This channel is, you know what I'm saying? Because I love Africa first, of course, that's why I'm doing this, you know, especially my Niger Congo culture. But I'm gonna go all over the world. Biology, evolution, science subjects. You know what I'm saying? This is the Al Jaheez podcast. We specialize in anthropology, history, science, things of that nature. I might even expand and do a whole other channel one day. You know what I'm saying? Just on a whole other subject, just to give people a whole other viewpoint of me. You know what I'm saying? As a person. That's still got my damn hospital bad though. You know what I'm saying? Fresh out that thing. You ain't nothing gonna stop. I probably ain't gonna be too late on the show. But I do gotta take my meds later, you know what I'm saying? My little painkillers, cause my shit is thriving. I have titanium screws in my goddamn fingers, you hear me? But it's all good though. I ain't worried about that. Can't nothing stop me from nothing. I'm gonna show my screen. Hold on, let me get my sources together for y'all. You know what I'm saying? Y'all know we using, as usual, for this time being, we using the Civilizations of Africa. You know what I'm saying? Christopher Ehret, which is a great viewpoint. What I would say is a great viewpoint and a great this book has a great structure for African migrations and human migrations over the African continent for its culture, people groups, you know what I'm saying, things of that nature. Some stuff could need some polishing because this book go back to 2016. It's a book of things, but overall, this book is good. You know what I'm saying? But you already know, when we get to those parts, I pick and point to those parts, and we're gonna go into the right direction. You know what I'm saying? So let's get it in, y'all. Let's see, okay, here we go. Share my screen real quick. All right, hold on, real quick, y'all. We're gonna get to it. All right, all right, all right. Oh yeah, yeah. He said Wu. I'm looking in the chat, y'all. Pure Black said Wu and Gozy was trying to give Jabari that work. Yeah, yeah. He ran. He got out of there. He got out of there quick. He said, I gotta go. He said, I got some stuff to do. I gotta go. Yeah, right. I was in there posted. I was in that chat group posted just in case some crack off. You know what I'm saying? Shout out to the pseudo killers, man. You know what I'm saying? You already know this. I'm part of the pseudo killers too as well. Shout out to the street Sufis. All right now. Y'all can see my screen. Then I'm getting to the the Western Equatorial Africa and its social and economic repercussions of agricultural expansion. Okay, farming, fishing, and trade in the rainforest. To the west of Eastern Africa, in both the northern and southern savanna belts and in the rainforest, new expansions of Niger-Congo languages and cultures took place during the period from 1000 BCE to 300 CE. In many cases, these expansions accompanied the further spread of agricultural frontier into the new areas. Ironworking took hold too, all across these regions before the end of the period. And in the savanna zones, new agricultural developments gave added impetus to the establishment there of the farming ways of life. I'll say it again. All across the regions before the end of the period and in the savanna zones, new agricultural developments gave added impetus to the establishment thereof farming ways of life. So these, you know what I'm saying, these are different Niger-Congo people coming into these zones. You know what I'm saying? Probably mostly Ubangian people because we're talking about the western equatorial regions. And in these regions too, you know what I'm saying, in equatorial Africa, a lot of these areas is where the earliest iron, you know what I'm saying, iron smelting started at, you know what I'm saying, in the equatorial Africa region, you know what I'm saying, due to the Adamawa areas and Ubangian areas where these, you know, Ubangian and Adamawa speakers are, which is these particular branches of Niger-Congo languages. They're not Bantu, but they're their own branches. Nah, he don't use he used, I would say Jabari used Arid in the wrong way. He don't even read Arid. He posted that shit and he's like, I said he didn't even read that book, even based on what he said. But okay. Because I was reading the audience for the people that know, I was reading the chat, they were talking about some Jabari. Jabari say the same thing I do because he fuck with Arid. He say he fuck with Arid, but he don't fuck with Arid like north of the rainforest. North of the rainforest, in the woodland savannas of what is today's Central African Republic, new expansions of Ubangian peoples were underway. I was talking about the Ubangians. The early Ubangian movement eastward in the 3rd and 2nd millennia BCE had established a number of Ubangian societies along the Bomu and the Ilili rivers. Their tributary streams as far east as the western edge of the southern Middle Nile Basin. Mm. It said the early Ubangians movements eastward in the 3rd and 2nd millennium BCE had established a number of Ubangian societies along the Bamu and the Ulili rivers and the tributary streams as far east as the western edge of the southern Middle Nile Basin. So when they get into that Middle Nile Basin, the southern Middle Nile Basin, they get into these, you know what I'm saying, Nilo-Saharan regions, these Ubangian people, you know what I'm saying, Central Sudanians, you know, so they come into contact with them people, but they bringing iron to that way too. And they say these communities practice the West African planting agriculture with its yams and oil palms. And like the contemporary Bantu of the South, they had major use of river resources by fishing and building dugout canoes. And they also hunted between 1000 BCE and 300 CE. These communities began increasingly to clear new lands for cultivation in areas well away from the major streams. Lands previously left to the older gatherer hunter peoples. That's why I don't know why Eric he said like that. It really should be hunter gatherers, but with Eric, he say gather. Eric, when you read his work, he say gatherer hunter. I don't know if he's trying to be funny or what, but he called a gatherer hunter people. Was good with it, Juju. But Eric, he say 1000 BCE to 300 CE, these communities began increasingly into cleared new lands for cultivation in areas well away from the major streams. Lands previously left to the older gatherer hunter people. These must have been obviously the like Batwa people, because even today, you have certain Batwa tribes that speak Ubangian languages. You know, so with the Niger Congo language, like a lot of people think, no, like the Bantus wasn't the only Niger Congo people expanding into Central Africa. They expanded the furthest, you know what I'm saying? But the Ubangian population, you know what I'm saying, they expanded, you know what I'm saying, just like the northern parts of the region. I got a map. I got a map of it. Where did that map go? Iron mill spread of iron working routes. This it. I think I got it. Let me see. See. Somewhere. I think it's right here. Yep, I found it. I know it was this map. Expand it. I can see what I'm talking about. Yeah, I see the map. You see how you see you got Bantus, see the Bantus, they, you know what I'm saying? I showed this map before. You know what I'm saying? This is an overview. See how you got the Bantus all throughout here. Like Batwa, these little area pockets of rainforest where you got Batwa people still living, were living in. throughout here. In these regions, see the Ubangian people up here, they didn't go as deep into Central Africa. They went to these tropical regions, more so northern, like the northern Congo area. You know what I'm saying? To, like they said, like the southern, they went into these regions, which is basically, see the Nile, the southern tributaries of the Nile. This was considered the southern middle Nile. You know what I'm saying? Southern middle Nile region, they would have been, you know what I'm saying, contact with these areas too. You know what I'm saying? With the Central Sudanians here. You see, man, we were talking about the Mushariki people. These would have been the Eastern Bantu or the Lake Bantus. They would have been, you know, migrated throughout here and became like the other Bantus that would have been out here in the east. Like the Kusi, we talk about the Kusi and the Kakasi on the other channels on my other show. Yep, Twa, and these would have been the Savannah Bantus. Right? The Ubangians, they would have been migrated to these regions. They wouldn't have been that deep in the Congo, probably up this river, the Ubangi River. So it's probably as deep right here. Yeah, let me see. Get back to it. I don't appreciate the hearts. Let's see. Oh, okay. I went back. I went way back to. We talked about this part of Ubangis already. Yeah, we talked about you. We talk about some aspects of Ubangis on another part. We was just talking about the Bantu expansions, period. Or just these Niger Congo expansions through Central Africa. We talked about the Bantu peoples of the eastern woodland savannas. You see right here, 3,000 to 1,000 BCE. We talked about that already. So here we go. Okay. And it's a north, it's a right here, it's a north of the rainforest in the woodland savannas of what is today Central African Republic. New expansions of Ubangian peoples were underway. The early Ubangian movements eastward in the 3rd and 2nd millennium BCE had established a number of Ubangian societies along the Bamu and the Ulili rivers and the tributary streams as far east as the western edge of the southern Middle Nile Basin. These communities practiced the West African planting agriculture with its yams and oil palms, and like the contemporary Bantu to the south, they made major use of the river resources by fishing and building dugout canoes, and they also hunted. So see, these people, they were Niger Congo speakers, but they wasn't, you know what I'm saying, they wasn't Bantus, you know what I'm saying, in Central Africa. But they did, you know, they had certain similar lifestyle. They part of the same big, you know what I'm saying, macro culture. And they say between okay, say Bantu, okay, river resources, fishing, building, dugout canoes, and they also hunted. You know what I'm saying? You know, Niger Congo people always like Niger Congo people, even though doing like they practice agriculture and all that, they always use hunting as a sub source. They always went back to hunting. You know what I'm saying? At some point. if they went through drought or something like that. That's what like bush meat and stuff like that is popular in certain West African countries. And they say between 1000 BCE and 300 CE, these communities began increasingly to clear new lands of cultivation in areas well away from the major streams, lands previously left to the older gatherer-hunter peoples. Two kinds of consequences arose from these developments. One was a growing incorporation of former gatherer hunting peoples into the expanding Ubangian societies. By 300 CE, only in the southern areas where Ubangian peoples live in the rainforest as neighbors of the forest Bantu did autonomous Batwa communities of gatherer-hunter continue. They're persistent, and it's basically saying that, basically breaking down that map I just showed you. And they say to persist alongside the farming peoples. So they the gathering hunter people lived alongside the Ubangian people. You know what I'm saying? They had an autonomous, the Patwa was autonomous, but which is being, indigenous people, whatever, or adoptionist people. They lived alongside the Bantu and Ubangian people. They probably gathered certain forest resources, for them. And likewise, some of the Batwa learned farming, or had certain farming. The persistence alongside and I ain't gonna lie though, in some of these situations wasn't always a friendly one either. Like sometimes the Bantu would and some of these Niger Congo people would have Batwas and slaves. Like some of these Bantu societies. I mean, this probably was this situation probably was a cool situation, but to be realistic, I've seen and read, upon situations where, certain Bantu or Niger Congo people didn't even look at the Batwa as being human like them. They looked at them as like other animals. So they didn't have them as slaves. It's shit crazy. And they say to persist alongside farming peoples. A second consequence of the spread of Ubangian farming into the areas away from the streams was the development of specializing fishing economies among those Ubangians who continue to reside along several of major rivers, notably along the middle Ubangi River and its tributaries. The Ulili, as the farming Ubangians exchange farm produce for fish with the riverside communities, a new basis for extended and more complex trade relations between slowly to emerge in the region. See, that's what I'm talking about. Like, the Congo people are the major people for commerce. And as you can see throughout the continent, we built these markets. And they say within the rainforest itself, 1,300 years between 1000 BCE and 300 CE were marked in several regions by a similar spread of Bantu-speaking agricultural communities into areas skipped over by earlier age of Bantu settlements between 3500 and 1000 BCE. Say it again. Within the rainforest itself, the 1,300 years between 1000 BCE and 300 CE, in 300 CE, were marked in several regions by a similar spread of Bantu-speaking agricultural communities into areas skipped over by the early age of Bantu settlement between 3500 and 1000 BCE. So like, you know what I'm saying, you had certain other Bantus that spread it out, but skipped over certain regions. And certain Bantus from the east came back into these other regions too, or other Bantus like that, you know what I'm saying, that was settled up in other regions, came up in these other filler regions, to these, you know what I'm saying, Congo Basin areas. And they say the biggest of these secondary expansions, these like secondary, you know what I'm saying, expansions, between just about 2,000 years ago, the spread of the ancestral Mongol society into the heart of the Congo Basin, following the various tributaries of the Lulanga, Busara, and the Mamboyo rivers, eastward from the areas south of the Ubangi Congo confluence. Mongol communities by the early second millennium CE had come to accompany nearly the whole of the interior of the basin, from the Middle Congo River on the north to the Sankuru River to the south. A similar spread, but one with the instead went westward, involved the Boan peoples, descendants of the Inyang Lomami Bantu communities, who had settled in the third or second millennium in the northeastern equatorial rainforest. The Boans began a succession of new expansions around the middle of the first millennium BCE. These expansions carried the Boans first northward to the southern edge of the northern savannas. Let me show y'all again. This is what they talking about. These the Boans right here. The Boans of Bantus communities. Okay, let me say the Bantu communities who had settled in the third and the second millennium in the northeastern equatorial forest, the Boans began a succession of new expansions around the middle of the first millennium BCE. These expansions carried the Boans first northward to the southern edge of the northern savanna belt in the west, and then westward, spreading the older style, minimally intrusive planting agriculture of their forebears into the regions lying between the Middle Congo on the south and the Ulili River to the north on the north. By the early first millennium BCE, the northeastern rainforest had developed into a zone of very cross-cultural encounter. The Proto-Boans, a Bantu-speaking society, occupied the lands around the upper Bamakokanda River. Two quite different groupings of Central Sudanic-speaking farmers, the Belize Mamvu and the Maji Lambi, these Central Sudanians. The Central Sudanians or Nilo-Saharian people, a subgroup of Nilo-Saharan type people, and resided respectively to the east and the west of the Proto-Boans. I think these some of these, the Meji Lambi some of these Central Sudan, some of the Central Sudan people are some of the people who did the elongated their heads, stuff like that. I think of what particular group they were. But I know they were Central Sudanian people. They part, I don't think they were part of these particular groups, but a subgroup of these culture, elongates their heads. And they say resided respectfully to the east and the west of Proto-Boans. To the north lay the lands of several Ubangian peoples with cultivating economies. All through the region, Batwa communities coexisted with farmers hunting the game and gathering the wild food of the rainforest. The characterizing development of the centuries from about 500 BCE onward was the long-term slow expansion of the Boans. In the early stages, the Boans had particularly close interactions with the Belize, Bamboo, and the assimilated considerable numbers of these Central Sudanese into their societies. They say by the early first millennium BCE, the major trend of Boan expansion shifted northward into the territories of the Ubangian peoples. Both the Boans came on particularly a notable culture influence with the spread widely among Ubangian peoples of the Ulili and the Bomu River areas. The Boan version of the ancient Bantu rites of male initiation and circumcision was eventually adopted by all across those regions. The causes of the course of this very wide cultural diffusion are still unclear. Just how early this influence spread is also a question, although Ubangian peoples probably first began to adopt these customs during the initial period of expansion of Boan people into the eastern Ubangian lands from about 2000 to 1,500 years ago. And they say right here we get into same period, but the Batwa autonomy or independence. So that's like saying that the Batwa was autonomous. It had a particular independence in particular areas. But some areas they wasn't, you know what I'm saying? They was like, you know what I'm saying, under the yoke of Bantu shit. Bantu or like expansions. I heard it say it said the Batwa autonomy or dependence. It's a question. He said the Batwa autonomy or dependence. And it's a fascinating feature of this period with the equatorial rainforest itself is the extent of which the Batwa gathering hunter communities in most areas are able to maintain their cultural and economic autonomy. Even in the midst of an expanding agricultural world, all about them, clearly large areas of forest must have remained in their possession and as work of the Karen Keelan, as work of the Karen and Keelman, as shown, Batwa peoples Batwa peoples again and again in history reasserted their historical and cultural distinctiveness. In the contrast, the savanna regions in this respect is sharp. For far in the North Savannah belt, the Ubangian, and in most of the southern savannas, the Savannah Bantus, relatively relatively rapidly assimilated in the former gatherer hunter peoples of those regions. So they assimilated, so they start intermixing with these people. And you remember the Savannah Bantus, even though Savannah Bantus still live on, you know what I'm saying, the Mashariki or the Eastern Bantus branched off from Savannah Bantus, even though they still, you know what I'm saying, lived on and were contemporary, you know what I'm saying, throughout the times. Like the Savannah Bantu branches still, you know what I'm saying, spread it out, even though the Mashariki Bantus also came from this particular cluster. And they say in most of the and they say for far in the northern savanna belt, the Ubangians, and in the most southern savannas, the savanna Bantus, relatively rapidly assimilated in the former gatherer hunter peoples of those regions. Only in the rainforest did the Patois preserve their autonomous communities down to the recent centuries. I'm talking about this, y'all. See, you got these savanna Bantus right here. These the southern savannas. You see the Ubangian people are in the northern woodland savannas. You see these areas right here, you know what I'm saying, they would assimilated, these savanna Bantus would assimilated with some of the Patois in these regions. Even though they still live long, like in these little areas right here, they would have had their autonomy. You know what I'm saying? The Patois would have had autonomy here in these forests. But along these areas where they, you know, where they clash with the Bantus would have been a little different. See, Patois right here. See, these particular Patois, they probably would have spoke some Central Sudanian language and Bantu language. Certain Patois would have spoke, you know what I'm saying, Ubangian language, depending on what area they was at. Here, okay, it said bark cloth. Making bark cloth is an ancient technology among Niger Congo people. The example shown here, though was made by Patois peoples of the northeastern parts of the Congo basin. Rather, the Patois adopted this technology after 3000 BCE from their Bantu-speaking Niger-Congo neighbors, or made bark cloth early themselves is not yet known. On the other hand, we should not mistake their autonomy for some kind of absolute independence. From the beginning of the Bantu settlement in the rainforest in the 3rd millennium BCE, Patois peoples entered into close trade relations, and these relations introduced them early on to polished stone tools technology and to pottery, among other things. By the last 1,000 years before the Common Era, Patois communities, see what they saying? Like they would, you know, so they had autonomy, but they had that much autonomy. That's what I was saying. Often had relied as well on a mixture of food resources. Those they themselves hunted and gathered among the cultivated foods they obtained by the trade from their agricultural neighbors. You know, so it depends on, you know, so how deep in the forest they was. You know what I'm saying? All of them was in that contact with them. Some of them was, but nowadays, you know what I'm saying? Not like modern times, you don't really have like that many autonomous Patois people like these. And it's a side effect of these close economic ties was the adoption over time by the Patois. Depending on who their neighbors were of either Bantu, Bangian, or Central Sudanic languages, their original languages are all now entirely extinct and therefore unknown to us. See, I told you they spoke Central Sudanian, Bangian, and Bantu. We don't know what language the Patois spoke. It's a culture change in the southern savannas, 1000 BCE to 300 CE. Let's see how much we had. We might have to break this up to two shows if I have to. Let me get me some water. Let me say right here. Let me say culture change in southern savannas. 1000 BCE to 300 CE. In the southern savanna belt, I'm talking about them, the savanna Bantus in that southern belt I showed y'all. In the southern savanna belt, a variety of societies evolved out of the ancestral savanna Bantu society. As we learned in the chapter 3, savanna Bantu had already 1000 BCE scattered out along the southern edge of the rainforest into the long eastward extending chain of communities. The furthest east of these groups, the Mashariki, remember I told y'all, you know what I'm saying? Let me show y'all again. Come on right here, the Savannah Bantus, the Mashariki, who are the ancestors of the Eastern Bantus, who all out here, we talking about what we've been talking about in these other shows, the Kusi and the Kakasi people, you know what I'm saying? Because you know the Mushariki, this is really Mushariki, the coin term is actually Swahili term, which means just Eastern Bantus. But it breaks down to, you know, Northern Bantus and Southern Bantus. You know what I'm saying? The Kakasi Bantus and the Kusi Bantus talking about. And they say the Savannah Bantus had around 1000 BCE scattered along the southern edges of the rainforest into the long eastern extending chain of communities. The furthest east of these groups, the Mashariki, then entered into a series of important roles in later Eastern African history. But what about the Savannah Bantu societies of the Western regions, the ones that never left? We we've been talking about, remember, we've been all the other shows, we've been talking about uh the Eastern Bantus. You know what I'm saying, which broke off these Savannah Bantus, but some of the Savannah Bantus never left them regions in the West. They say just west of the early just west of the early Mashariki peoples in the areas around and to the east of the middle Lula, Lulaba, Lulaba River, Lualala River, several groupings of Savannah Bantu communities had merged by about 1000 BCE. Two of these, the ancestral Sabi and the ancestral Botapui, have had lasting historical importance because of their role in the southern spread of agriculture and the later culture history of East Central Africa. Towards the end of the first millennium BCE and in the first 4th century CE, the Sabi and the Botawi both moved southward and settled in the adjacent parts of what is today Katanga province of Congo. The Sabi, the Sabi apparently in the east of the upper Lualaba River and the Botawi as their immediate western neighbors. In that region, though remaining distinct societies, the two peoples shared in a strongly linked set of cultural developments. Most notable, both the Sabi and the Botabi societies shifted to a solely matrilineal reckoning of descent and inheritance. The female initiation became perhaps the central social rite. Male initiation became unimportant, and the rituals of male circumcision disappeared entirely from use. That's crazy. Let me say that. Let me read it back. It say most notably, both the Sabi and the Batapui society shifted a social matrilineal reckoning of descent and inheritance, and female initiation became perhaps the central social rite. Male initiation became unimportant, and the rituals of male circumcisions disappeared entirely from use. So they didn't circumcise. And it's female initiation rites, and it was more matrilineal. You know what I'm saying? Like even though like Bantus already were matrilineal system, these were like even more matrilineal. You know what I'm saying? To like, you know what I'm saying? It was like in action. Like during the same period, both the ancestral Sabi and the ancestral Butabi languages created a new prefix, na, which was added to the words for social offices and occupation. This prefix identified female holders of those positions. Clearly, an important constellation of female gender roles was coming into being in those centuries, in which women were, if anything, strengthening their positions in society. A second significant development of this Sabi Botabi cultural world was the emergence of a new conceptualization of the old creator god of Niger Congo religion. In both ancestral Sabi and ancestral Botabi languages, a new word for God, Liza, began to be used. Its derivation from a verb meaning to nourish reveals a shift away from the older concept of a distinct creator to view that saw God as a more active and supportive force in human life. The historians Christine Sadi has proposed that because nurturing is commonly linked to women's role in culture. This theological shift in part mirrored the general ascend, ascended to what is it? Ascendancy at accentuating of female roles underway in those centuries in the ancestral Sabi Botabi society. Shit, that word tongue twister. What did it say? Accentuity. Accentuity. Okay, I got it. That was a twister. You're accentuity. That mirrored the general accentuity of female roles underway in those centuries in the ancestral Sabi and the Batawi community of societies. In the west of the Sabi and the Batavi, another early Savannah Bantu peoples, the ancestral Luban Sangye, carried the agricultural frontiers southward into the regions on both sides of the Lilishi River. By the close of the first millennium BCE, four descended societies were taking shape in different parts of the region. In the north, near the Sankuru River, lay the lands of the ancestral Sangi societies, while the ancestral Luban, Kuandi, and the Konyak people and the Kongo peoples could be found across the areas west and south of the earliest Sangye. We know as yet little about the early cultural changes among these communities. But in later centuries, some of these peoples, notably the Lubans and the Sangye, would become key players in the rise of the earliest states in the southern savannas. In the first 2 and 3 centuries CE, one group of the Savannah Bantus moved even further south, following the Zambezi River into the areas of the moist soils that make up the interior floodplain of the Zambezi. In modern-day far southwest Zambia, these people spoke an ancestral form of Luganda languages, and their descendants formed a core population of the later Bulozi kingdom of this region in the 16th and 18th century. Still further west were the lands of the ancestral Njala societies. In the early first millennium BCE, this society at first would have been located just south of the lower Congo River. In the areas where rainforests and woodland savannas were interspersed. By the second half of the millennium, Njala communities had begun to wide expansion along 2 fronts. One line of new settlements trended southeastward into the uppermost watersheds of Zambezi River. The other line of Njala advanced went more directly southward through the highland areas of today's Ngala. One offshoot of the Proto-Convango Southwest people moved even further south to the middle Kunani River in the last few centuries BCE. Say agricultural change and expansion in southern savannas. I think I'm gonna break this up into 2 shows. And we're gonna talk about this on the next show. the equatorial agricultural expansions in Central Africa. We're gonna talk about the agricultural change and expansion in the southern savannas. We're gonna talk about the ironworking, western equatorial western equatorial African history. Link in the chat, man. Anybody wanna come in, rock with me? Not, I'm gonna snooze off because shoot, I gotta take my meds. You see, I just had surgery on my hand. Let me set this link up real quick. If anybody wanna come on, y'all welcome to join. Zoom, here we go. All right, if anybody want to join the link, y'all could join the link. If not, I'm gonna rock out. You know what I'm saying? Give me some rest. You know what I'm saying? I'm trying to heal up, you know what I'm saying? But I couldn't stop. I had to do my show tonight and keep going every Saturday night. You know what I'm saying? This ain't gonna stop, you hear me? There's gonna be some more on the way. I might just do some floating shows. Couple shows here and there, just about, you know what I'm saying, random subjects. Like when we did this show on, you know what I'm saying, race and things like that. Show was a good show I did. Yeah, next show we're gonna talk about iron working in the Western Equatorial African history. And we're gonna talk about agricultural change and expansion in the southern savannas. All right, man. I'm finna peace out, y'all. Y'all finna give me some rest, man. Call it a night, yo. Right on for rocking with me, like and subscribe. Peace and love. Right on for supporting. I appreciate the support.